she doesn't want to put me against people. That's what she's on in the chair. She's pushing the kids. It's just she wants to react.
I'm so trying to steer you direction.
And he's over here, and so I said, I have another look at it. And I was like, it'll take you for me, you better look at it when you back. And he just work, and my friend was like, he's up, but if you're home from school, you're being punished for something you did. He's all, I'm not going to say it. He's all, I will bring you back to your house. And I was like, he just comes out. So, yeah.
We want to send you.
Okay, so I don't need to.
So just email me when you're ready. You can email me. Hey, we had a conversation about, and I'll say, yeah, I should show you. See, state preschool special ed is not first class. All right, guys, let me get your attention. Kind of a different vibe in this room. The acoustics are interesting. I don't know, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I got my coach's voice on, so we'll see how that works. But we'll figure it out. Welcome. How y'all doing? Fifth, sixth, fourth week, fifth week, somewhere around here in school? Fourth week? Good?
I know we started early on.
It just, right? It just seems like it's gone by really super fast. And we're kind of, it seems like the middle of the quarter, yeah? Here we go. Grades will be soon due. Are you ready for that? Yeah, look at me like daggers there. All right. A lot to cover tonight, and I want to value your time. So we'll start and end on time. I did this in Chowchilla, or Golden Valley, last week, and it's pretty close to 2 hours. So, and I gave the caveat: as long as you don't have any questions, we'll get done faster. It shows the world we have questions. And bigger crowds take longer, because one of the things I want to do tonight is read your goals and give you a thumbs up or thumbs down, because it sets the foundation for the entire year. And so to my second year peeps that have come back on why in the do we have to be here? You're going to tell us the same thing, because we looked at our data and realized that the goals weren't written right, which set a problem for the rest of the year, right? So we want to make sure that that's set tonight. That's why I brought you back. You can go your second year here. Me drone on, to talk about this again and again. I'll try to make it as interesting as possible, but you're going to hear a lot of the same information. First years, I'm excited to have you. Get ready to rock and roll. We're going to talk about you tonight. So, first things first, if you haven't, and I think you have, but if you haven't joined the classroom, we printed this out tonight on, what do we call it, green, thank you. Please note, those of you that are not part of Madera Unified must use a personal Gmail in order to join the classroom, okay? Yeah. And for those that are Madera Unified, we want you to use your district email, okay? And both of those are listed tonight. Mentors, if you haven't dropped in the class, the codes are there for you, so we've got it all ready to go. Any questions about getting into the classroom? Any struggles there? All right, let's move on. So we're talking tonight about your personal goals, and if you remember last year I talked to you about my personal goal was to catch a fish bigger than when my son was born, and I was able to do that. And if you saw me setting up today, you saw that big old huge 32-inch steelhead. So now what? Now what's our next goal? Well, my next goal was I need to get healthy. If you remember, this time last year I was a tad overweight, and so I had to figure something else out. And I love being 58, except for this. The older you get, the harder it is to lose weight. You all need to understand that. The older you get, the harder it gets, right? So I bit the bullet and went to the doctor, and he said, we got to do stomach surgery. Are you kidding me? So that's what I did. Dropped 80 pounds. Now I got to stop eating all the junk food that I was eating before, right? Because you can still eat it. So I got to start eating fruits and vegetables when I get hungry. But while I don't know if I extended my life, I think I've increased the vibrancy of my life. And I want to be able to fish when I'm 75 and still move around. And I watched my parents, both of them, sit in a chair until they passed away for like almost 10 years. I can't do that. Got to do something different. So that was my personal goal. What I'd like you to think about is a personal goal you might have. And it could be anything except for an education, right? So that's why it's personal. And share it. If your mentor's sitting with you, share it with them. If not, just share it with somebody sitting at the table. What's a personal goal that you want to have?
I would like to lose short, maybe 30 pounds. 25.
Yeah, I feel like all this around, I can't see it.
I have my wedding dress on. It's the first time.
Like
pretty good.
so like I'm on grab around either, but then after I know it was having one. You might miss that
How many have you read so
the weight one is
So now, I want you to look at the pink piece of paper and fill that in. Now we're talking about professional goals, so that goes back to teaching. And you can talk about it, but you got to write your own answer. Why is setting a professional growth goal important? How would growing your teacher practice impact your students, your year, and your career? Why is setting a growth goal in your teacher practice important? And how is that going to affect your students, your year, and your career? Feels like y'all are taking the SAT. Why is it important to set a professional growth goal? Somebody share that.
You have to know where you're going, what you're heading for. You can't grow if you don't know where you're going.
Okay, so if I don't want you to raise your hand, but would you admit that there is some area of growth left in your professional career?
Yeah.
Y'all nodding that, I'll get that. Believe it or not, we've ran into teachers who go, I got this. I know what I'm doing. I don't need help. And my challenge is, and we've talked about Michael Phelps and the swimmer and all the effort they did to get better. When you look at the best athletes, they're the ones that are there first and the last one to lead. Not that I'm asking you as teachers to be the first one there and the last one to lead, but I am asking, is there an area of growth left in your career? And if you're just starting out, then hopefully we can say, yeah, there's a lot of growth left. We want you to keep that mindset until you retire, right? And then if you're going to substitute, you can still think, well, how can I do that? It's a whole new job. How would it affect, your students? If you're growing as an educator, how would that affect your students? We can even prove that we're growing because our students are having better outcomes, right? When we pay you to teach, I don't pay you, but you get paid to teach. How do you know you're teaching? We look at assessments, right? Of all sorts. We look at all kinds of, so DRWP, if we're over here in preschool, did I say it right?
DRWP.
And she's just given a 2-day training on that too. I've been listening. I go home at night to listen to my coach wife debrief me on all the coaching that she's done for the edit. So when I go home, my day doesn't end. I have 2 more hours of work ahead of me. I don't know that. DRWP. I don't know how I said that wrong.
We won't call it.
Thank you. It's on film though. If it's a DRWP, if it's NWA, if it's your unit test, if it's your common and formative assessment or summative assessments, whatever it is we're looking at, do you know that admin knows what your scores are? That they peel back the onion and look? And if they have a new teacher whose scores are significantly lower than everyone else's, their first reaction is, what do I need to do to support this teacher? How do I get them up to speed? But then we come back to the second year and the scores are still in the basement compared to your peers and the district. What is the administrator going to think? What would you do if you were in that administrator's shoes? And you had one teacher significantly behind all the others. What would you do?
Yeah.
So we would do all kinds of things to help, but now it's March. Now what are we going to do?
They don't pass the probationary period.
There's a real good chance that we're going to release that. Non-reelect is the word, right? And we're just going to non-reelect. Your administrators, even in PE, even in art, even in preschool, are looking at these numbers. Officially, we don't evaluate you based on the numbers. But it sure helps us go start looking for what's going on, and then we'll identify other red flags, okay? We want to help you avoid that trap and help you raise student achievement by getting better. So how does that affect your year?
That's cool. That's exciting. More successful.
We're being more successful. You feel good about yourself if your scores are at or better than your peers?
Yeah.
Come on, admit to me, is there a little competition going on? You're looking at those scores and you're looking at your department going, yeah, we nailed that one. It affects you here because guess what? You're coming back next year. Maybe even this is your second year and you're getting tenure, and now you're a permanent employee. How does it affect your career? How do these goals set your career up? Are there other things you can do outside of teaching without becoming an administrator that would advance your career? PLC lead, department chair, you could become an academic coach, you could be a TSM, right? I will tell you, in all honesty, that when we went out to hire our 10 for secondary TSMs, we found the best.
What's a TSM?
Teacher support mentor. Full-time teacher support mentor. Lindsay's one of my TSMs.
Oh.
But we screened, and we interviewed, and we talked to people. And we looked at their evaluations. And we only took the best. Right?
So they're not currently teaching, but they're just supporting.
Correct. So it's kind of,
Yeah, I could do that.
Oh, like a TOSA.
it is. Yeah. Teacher on special assignment.
You guys are like using all these alphabet stuff.
All right. Why did we know that these were the best? Because they started their career saying, I need to keep growing, I need to keep improving. And then we gave them a target. Well, you could be a PLC lead. I want to try that. How do I get there? I want to be a department chair. How do I do that? How do I become part of the curriculum development team? I want to do that. How do I become a district academic coach or a TSM or whatever it is? And we're still teachers, right? Madera Unified is building a career ladder, actually, for teachers to be able to advance without having to go to the dark side and become an administrator. Right? They're getting more pay, getting more days on their calendar, and I'll tell you a secret. My TSMs are telling me that their stress level is cut in half. And they're going home, and their spouses are even saying, oh my gosh, what the heck's going on? And they're not bringing home 180 English essays to grade on a Friday night that are due on Monday, right? So these are some of the perks. But it starts today with your career establishing a goal. So the next question is this. Talk about this in your table groups. What's keeping you up at night as a teacher? On a coffee like that at 8 in the morning. What's keeping you up? What's stressing you out as a teacher?
I can do it. The ones from Sunday when we talk journal. I'm very
Let me grab your attention. What I'd like to do now is grab the green CSTP's placemat. Hopefully by tonight, you've done some assignments already in Google Classroom. First year teachers, you have discussed your individual development plan, or it's also called a transition document or a bridging document. First years, you've done your self-assessment using the continuum. And if you taught somewhere else and you were evaluated, you pulled those evaluations because they're also about these CSTPs. Second years, you reviewed your CSTPs from last year from the self-assessment. You reviewed your evaluations from last year, and you even reviewed your ILP from last year. Okay? What I'd like you to do now is look at these standards, and you're going to pick two elements. But let me give you some advice. I'm not going to require it, but I'm going to heavily suggest, if you're a first-year teacher tonight, that you look at standards 1 and 2. And if you're a second-year teacher, that you look at standard 5. It's not a requirement, but I will tell you that
You did 5 last year.
that it is highly suggested. First year's 1 and 2, second year's at least 5. You can pick from any of the 5 standards. I've already given you an X and number 6. That is professional development. That's what this is all about. Pick 2 elements from one of those 5 standards. I would also say you could, but we would prefer you did not pick the same standards you worked on last year. Yeah? We think you mastered those. That's why you passed. You got your second year. So try to pick different standards. Yeah, and if you're a Madeira Unified, we'd encourage you to pick the same standards you used for your evaluation pre-meeting at the addendum G.
But this was specifically like I was so pick the majority and get a same. I mean, then it just depends on my coaches. Okay.
Like so that's the line. Like I know that I picked these two, but like 1-4 to me is a lot easier than something and I know that I can develop a community and working
So I can go like this. Here I
I know that my students really need to and I also know that they need more rigorous. Am I right on that? Pick the standard that you've already picked so that they might not already.
But if you have
Pick the ones you want and then communicate that.
and that's what we're talking about. She said she couldn't do it on the 22nd. Did you see that? I changed it. Okay, they might have sent you the 28th. Oh, the 20th? Okay. Yeah, but I sent you the invite. Okay.
3.5, that is the one that they really focus on. I really get I gave standards with Word that I was to work on, but I gave standards to Casey. And then they for my first one. So the standards have to be different than what this is, but I know that I remember what I picked with it. So I just made notes, I highlighted nice too, so that I have to go build a So for our meeting, next week. So for our meeting next week, we'll have different. I'm not sure about it. Yeah. That's not the one. Yeah. I remember it. I think it was like ones and the ones and twos. Yeah. So I'm trying to pass.
Okay, so I can't do that. So 3.5. So I think it's like here and there.
Yeah, like things. So I just picked one from each of these, but I don't think you have to pick. I think here they all come the same.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or does it have to be one from, or does it have to be two different areas?
But it's 2 per semester, though? I mean, or is it
For the year.
we're just gonna be these 2 and put it together?
And we're doing it really good. If you wanted to just focus on like
I did this resume uniforms. I wasn't gonna do the 2-year program kind of basis. Those are RSP ones as SPC, like RSP I'm holding behavior issues, but I was thinking and intervention. I was doing a couple if I could just do this.
especially with your students, like I feel like those two would be really good in this stuff because
We have to learn everything about them.
super important.
I'm so thrilled.
This is amazing. I don't have to routines, procedures, forms, support, positive behavior change. Oh, I like that one. Maybe I should do that. That was good first. Maybe I'll do that. 1.1, still getting to know my kids. Still need to know and fashion routines, and that's what I'm already doing now. I know. Really, that's what I'm doing too. I'm still making changes, and I just like, I just feel like, I mean, they're little changes, but it's like, oh my god, we gotta learn that now. Yeah. So,
All right, let me have your teaching.
those certain students.
All right, so and now we're going to move to writing the ILP, and I will remind you that it's a living document, okay? So we're expecting you to make changes. In fact, we're going to require you to make changes. And let me speak to that and let you know that we're changing our procedures a bit. Meeting with my readers tomorrow, Thursday. Today's Tuesday. On Thursday. We're challenging them and requiring them to read your assignments within the 7 days that it's due. If it's not complete, right? So after that first week, so you have a little mercy there. But if it's not done, you're going to get an email from the reader. and the mentor is going to get an email saying, hey, we still need this document, right? And then after 2 weeks of it being overdue, we're going to email you and your administrator. You've got to understand that maintaining your credentials is part of a work requirement, right? If you don't have a clear, there's no options, you're out of a job. So we want to make sure that that's happening. Not because I like playing the dog and whipping you and making sure that it's getting done, but because I want you to reflect in real time. Okay? So that's important. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that with the journals. Having said that, your individual learning plan, there's expected to be changes that you're going to make to it. You're going to update that as it goes along. So even though I'm going to ask you tonight, and I've already warned most of your mentors to make an appointment with your administrator, like tomorrow, to have a triad meeting where you're going to discuss your goals. Okay? 3 weeks from now, you decide to change. You don't have to go back and have another triad meeting and do another document. We're going to just cover that in their update later on. Okay? But I really want you to understand this is a living document. All right, if you would grab the white individual ILP. We're going to write 2 sentences. That's the assignment for writing the goals. And you'll see where it says goal 1 and goal 2. First step. And tonight just write the numbers. But when you type this out in the document, I want you to type the standard, engaging and supporting all students in learning, and the element, using knowledge of students to engage them in learning. You will type that out where it says CSTP and element on the far left box. Capiche? In the second box where it says goal 1, goal 2, I want you to write a pretty simple sentence. Let's keep it simple. You can borrow language from the standard, but you must use our growth words. And here's the key. The sentence has to be completely about you. It's teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. We'll get to the outcome part of it in a moment. But you're going to write a sentence tonight, and I almost want you to start it with, I will improve, or I will build, or I will develop my ability to, and then you take the language from the standard. I will improve my ability to promote social development and responsibility within a caring community where each student is treated fairly and respected. You're borrowing right from the language. You get to plagiarize tonight. Right? The kids would say you get a cheat code. I would like for you at this point to write your 2 goals. Make sure you use a growth word and borrow the language from the standard and make it completely and utterly about you. And when you're finished, raise your hand and I want to come by and read it. That's perfect.
Yes. Probably that over here. You didn't want to use this little thing as well. Yes, that's
She wants to grow in her, grow in her.
Very good. I will strengthen and enhance my organizational skills.
Okay, sounds good. There you go. Well, like trying all these.
No, I just wanted to, yeah. In learning? This one? Yeah. I think that's perfect. That's what I want. And then I'll just do the second one, so sometimes the 2.6.
That's measures.
Get
That's
to
in my
measures,
head.
but yeah.
Look at mine. Mine's like sugar. I know. Yeah, that's mine. When I write for the students, it's different. But here, yeah, whenever. Yeah, well, there we go. That's what I do there. earlier I wrote something that's like spoke to real.
We're doing the same thing.
No, I was actually writing
Perfect. I like it. That's what Dennis said to me. Hey, your teeth don't see it. You didn't say teeth. Hey, looks everything looks perfect.
Almost 30 years. Never had well, then my last one was to take
So that's why I wrote build, because I'm gonna have to be literally building all this. Makes more sense, yeah.
So you'll just copy those here. So the second one, I just put it's just this one right here. So basically, I just thought I would right? Take that mark and then frame it with your
I was gonna ask, but I guess since he said that, I wanted to know.
Oh, you're gonna try.
I meant to email you guys, yeah, it's just there's a lot going on in class. You did the other picture?
Yeah, we had two last night. We were thinking we were showing.
It's just different.
Can you five of them? Right, so we're gonna let you sit five videos per day. Right? You still get points. You get input. Yeah.
Okay, I can put them on.
Email me and I'll send you Google photos because I'm gonna post the video. She's gonna read one of them. What's her name? It starts with L. We're in this classroom. Okay, we come back. Okay, there's all kinds of stuff in there. And lots of good stuff. I'm gonna taste it.
I hope nothing, but I think we're just supposed to write up the numbers now.
Be right back. Alright, so we are over here checking going.
Yeah, sorry. Probably. DMV tomorrow. So I'm assuming like next month. I did.
It's a chair.
Policies and procedures.
Okay. want me to read it?
So think about maybe not.
My goal is to build my student knowledge about and understanding dogs,
Other than just
take care.
like foundations and like those stuff.
My wife trains to
Maybe we could get we might find other kids. Oh, I think that's how I got.
understand. I would sit in a learning environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear about all that all the time. She's always taking pictures and taking back. And this is how we learn that. This is how we see it. That's where my wife's at.
Actually, that's like my worst subject.
You were speaking English.
I tell my coworkers, all of your kids are perfect.
Yeah.
Okay? All of them. So this is
Okay, got it. There it is. So I'm like, oh yes, she did right. And then she was like, okay, let's do this. And she was like, on an app. This is my yeah, so I could tell you these are things and then my vice principal so she gave me like her personal, she typed this up herself. She's so cute. She was really just she was trying to get her translation of the interview. But anyway, we're not going to do she could have but I talked from the genetic that was the RSC. We got to get the genetic modify it for kids that.
And then I think for me, that actually was, so she said I did it. It's one of those. You know, we had the teacher call us. Now I'm that teacher. I know, it's like you're not being all about that.
Sixth grade, like, and he actually had like a mini like teacher day on it. Fifth and sixth just all through their ideas on pieces of paper. Okay, what do you do to keep the noise level down? Every table had like they're all just trying to like throw things around. And so I tried that what's it called? It's called bouncy balls. So when they're too loud, like the balls go, you know, and then it feels like to be quiet. I tried that today, and I was like, every time I told you it's a minute to recess, I've never heard it. I was like, okay, this is it. This is the weekend. This is the one for the weekend. Next week we'll try it.
They're so fast.
So every week we're all like throwing in their ideas around. Like, okay, what's So I've been saying trying to figure out where my phone is and trying to figure out what didn't stay outside of the song. So honestly, we all love my parents would love that. It's so cute. I oh my gosh, that would be a really big incentive.
I did do good, but I didn't. And they just pick up in an hour and build it. Fuller doesn't do it easily.
That's nice, where they can just go where they want.
And after recess, I want them to be able to do whatever they do. I mean, some kids even are like,
I kind of want to bring it a little down. I turned on the light and kind of calmed down.
Stuff like that.
But I'll see
The ocean
something like that.
Oh, I see. The background.
Yeah. The thing is, I got one that goes and hits the TV. Oh, Liam. Liam will go, he'll go, claw, I don't know what he's saying, it's claw, because when we do the writing on the box light, I'll have him come up, but then he likes to do his nails, the fingers, because then he sees like, it looks like Jurassic Park. And it's like, because he just says claw. So, that's what I'm thinking.
Something that's red, the red is the yarn, so that way they're not allowed to use the yarn in front of the TV. Oh, nope, not trying to touch the TV. And there's red tape where they
Well, we did it too. You know, we put tape, but it's not red, and they stand behind it. The thing is, when one starts to inch over, they all start to go. And I'm like, no, no, no. And then I gotta put my body together, like right there.
What are those?
I have all kinds of people that go through it and see where they're at.
All right, who haven't I read? We're almost there, guys. Thanks for your patience.
Savannah's good, she'll take a picture of it. But I need like documentation. Well, I guess I can print those pictures out too. Yeah, but then we erase, you know what I mean? Like, he'll erase and then we keep writing. It's like practice. You don't want to because he's getting like this. It doesn't, okay. Surprising. Like, no, we were reading I mean, it was really simple, it was mining to but you know, it was all repetitive, but he was doing it. And he would look at the picture, I know he looks at the picture, you know, I got my, you know, I got a little thing, but he was getting it, and I would make it much more as a book. Yeah. So he was doing another, I could get that from him. And he just doesn't he would just, he would sit I think he has to keep it going. I think he has to keep it really so that's what I was talking about. So she was telling me
Who else? Anyone else need to read? Are we ready, everybody? One more? Shelby's one.
Whoever calls me. I would love to. But your kids are smaller. Yeah. So there's a young yeah. There's just not enough of this adult.
I guess one kid will get if I can while we're doing something. So that's my issue. Because I have multiple like chairs where like one can sit in her and get out of the it would have to be. So he'll just my desk. That's his hobby. And that's fine. And I set it up right there. So I have a chair so that when he sits, when he has his moments, and then he comes down and goes right to the desk. But now Bentley sees that. So we got another one for Bentley. So now the chair, I took it up. So I because it was just for the last, for yesterday, yes, like he never had that day. No, but he did. Yes, that's what he does. Yes, he got a kid. So he had him from behind. I just wanted to stop. And then
that's my so behind.
wait, which one's your living? That's your living? And there's my husband. And they go to school. And you never
There was
They haven't had, oh her breaker was almost a
that was my husband and my kid. I was like, she's been there. But it was because they were like their power and every flower and they spent that from the front door. They had like
yes, and then you go this way.
I think she would have understand because she said there's
do have backlog as average. I used to work on altitude and the first day I learned that I had not hired there, I did their meal so much nicer. And I drove out there and kids started falling over and sharing them on the road and diesel line in the car. And I'm like, oh my
Friday. So if you have is all your work every Friday, they get to go to $40 to charter it up there, and then they go snowboarding every Friday. Where my friends so they drive up to Yosemite Badger. Good day. Like that tree decorating and timbers for like kids like in first and second grade, like if you're decorating the tree for like the
Here she comes. Last year I had
Are they gonna do it again?
Yes, they are. I'll send you the information. You should just go like for your classroom.
How do you make a book though? Is it just like on a trailer?
Yeah, so you need a trailer. So I just reached out to like parents and like we've got to there. Yeah, I did. And I just thought it was
Alright guys, we're ready to move. Alright, here's where we're going. I asked if I read everybody.
I did almost yours. What? I did almost yours because and he got off and because the parents had to walk over there. So they had to wedding conversion. And she was like, okay, fine when I got it. And so I was like, what? I'm part of the and I was so good because I told my everything back. And I was like, and then I like called to me over like, yeah, they dancing and
Your heart like throbs.
Here we go, guys. Yeah. All right. So here's where the train's going to jump fast, and we're going to move so we can get you out of here because I know you're hungry, even though I brought you all what you got with some chocolate. Your next step is to have a triad meeting. Your administrator is going to sign off with your mentor there, so the three of you go together, hence the word triad. Your mentor is going to set this meeting up because what you didn't learn from preliminary classes is it's still scary to go to the principal's office. But here's where the administrative role changes from evaluation to cheerleader. In fact, we're telling them you can't use this for evaluation purposes. This is the opportunity for the administrator to say, hey, you really need to go see Larry. Larry does this, what you're asking, really well. Okay? You only need your admin to sign on at once. So even if you change the goals later, next month, because my advice to you didn't fit with where your needs are, which is great, you don't have to go back and re-sign, right? But we still want the administrator to know what's going on so they can check in on you, encourage you, and support you. Okay? And I've been asking the mentors to actually get ahead of this and already set up an appointment. You may have appointments already for tomorrow, some of you. Okay? But this document's due in the classroom on Friday, September 22nd. Okay? What is due on the 22nd? The 2 sentences you wrote tonight in box 1 and 2, plus the standard and the element. The pathways and the outcome are going to be due at the end of next month. Okay? So all we're worried about is what's in box where it says goal 1 and goal 2, and that's that sentence I read tonight. Now we just need the admin to get on board and you're ready to go. But, if you're from Texas, you'll understand, there's a 2-step process. 1, once you get the signatures, you have to scan it and upload it into the Google Classroom. But that's only halfway there. You also have to type on the Google document in the classroom and submit that. So step 1, PDF. Step 2, Google document. Both have to be in the classroom. And here's the reason why. Next month, Pathways and Outcomes are due. And I'm going to ask you to go to your document and click File, make a copy, and you're going to submit the copy in October with the Pathways and Outcomes. And then in December, I'm going to ask you to give me an update. And by the way, the biggest, easiest way to update that is just to provide more pathways. You submit that Google Doc again. Notice where that PDF is with the signatures. It stays in that first assignment with the goals. It's due on the 22nd. I'm going to ask you to update this document again in March. You see the need for the Google Doc. It keeps moving forward while the PDF stays in assignment number 1 for goals. Everybody understand? There's 2 processes. This is the only time you have to turn in 2 docs. One needs a signature, one is a Google Doc. Any questions about that? All right, pathways. Our standards say that we want multiple pathways. And we define that as meaning at least 3. And I want to think the date is October 27th. Okay? At least 3 pathways per goal. And I want to show you something. I'm going to put this in the classroom for all of y'all. Can we say that in the dear? I know it's not chapter 11. All of y'all. All right. So we've developed some professional development and 2 classroom management is on the road for our county partners. Okay? So if you're in Chowchilla and want to come to our classroom management, we actually started last night. And classroom management for Golden Valley and for mountain people is starting next week. We're going to put this in the classroom and click the link and we can join. But it gets better. If you're in a special ed collab situation in Madera Unified, you're going to be required to come to our training on the 26th to learn how to be in a work marriage. Okay? And what we're discovering is that this collab dynamic is not as common outside of Madera Unified as we thought it was. So a collab situation is where we have a gen ed teacher and a special ed teacher. They're literally co-teaching the classroom because out of 38 kids, 15 of them are sped. And so they're working together with that setting. We're telling all of our beginning teachers in Madera Unified, if you're in one of these 2 camps, you're coming on the 26th. And they were falling and pleading with their partners who are veteran teachers for the most part to please also come. In fact, we're even hearing from our special ed department, they're so excited about this, they're coming to hear what we have to say so they can take it and spread the news. But if you're not in Madera Unified and this interests you, there's a link. Once again, we'll do it here. Tech Savvy Teaching is coming. So we have 3 trainings on Pear Deck, Formative Assessment, and Ed Puzzle and Mozilla. So these are the dates. Lindsay, what were the dates? Oh, October 11th, November 1, March 6th. And I'm going to put this document in Google Classroom for mentors and for teachers. But it gets better. I also have, if you notice, I didn't put classroom management for Madera Unified up here. We have another class for you that starts Wednesday, September 20th, here in this room. And we're expecting 25, 30 people. And we have a bunch of different topics that we're going to run with that. So all of that will be posted, and you'll be aware of that, but these fit in your pathways. So you wanted to do tech, that can be a pathway. I'll put it in the classroom so you don't have to write it down. How many pathways do you need? 3. Checking to understand. All right. Outcomes. Part of your pathway. Part of your pathway is that you need to be observed by your mentor at least twice a semester. If you have a TSM, you're getting that all the time. It's just kind of baked in. All right? But if you have a part-time mentor or you're not in the area unified, your mentor needs to come and watch you at least twice. And I'm already telling them that I also want them to do a video recording of your teaching. And if you can do more than one, great, but at least one. So there's 2 in-person visits and 1 video per semester. So a total of 4 in-person observations, and all that can be written on your pathway if you're looking for more pathways. We also want you to go and observe someone else twice a semester, and your mentors are supposed to organize that for you. Okay? So you want to see how tech is being used in the classroom. You want to see how checking for understanding is being used. You want to see how procedures, I think 3 or 4 of you talked about, I want to hone in my procedures. We want to go find people that are really good at that, and your mentors are the ones that are going to figure that out for you. Okay? All right, it is due to 27th. Learning goals. So I said everything about your goal so far is about you. But we say it this way, it's teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. And the premise tonight is that if you're getting better in your teacher practice, we're expecting to see that in student outcomes. There are very few exceptions tonight in this room where we're not looking at student academic outcomes. Except here, right? In preschool, special ed, we're looking at social, emotional, and some other issues, right? So we can look at some different assessments, and you can write that differently. But you two are different in that we're not going to look at how many sight words they have and how many letters they can recognize. And we have tools that are different, so it's going to sound different. Okay. All right. The outcome should be based on a pre-assessment and either a single summative or multiple summative assessments ending in March. So you're looking at how they're growing from August to March. Whether you want to use one big summative assessment or a series of summative assessments. Can you use common informative assessments or benchmarks that you're using in your campus? Yes. Can you use state testing? No. Why can't we use state testing? It's year to year, right? But if we have we're using NWEA 3 times a year. You want to use that? We can use that. You want to use chapter tests? We want to use ECAS tickets? We can do that. The assessments need to make sense to you, but it has to be tied to academics. And I want you to pick 3 focus students. And on that ILP that we just practiced on, I want you to think about, I need an EL, a SPED, and one of my own choosing. Unless, of course, you don't have any ELs in your classroom, which actually kind of happens sometimes. Right? Most of you don't have ELs in your population. Some of you say, well, I don't have SPED students in my classroom. Well, you still have somebody that's an outlier academically. Let that fill that slot. Okay? Questions about measurable outcomes. Must be academic outcome based on a pre-assessment from August to March. You don't have to think about that tonight. We have until the end of October to get that done. Okay? There's 3 focus students. All right. 1 EL, 1 SPED, 1 of your choice. We're going to update this December 15th and March 15th. Here's the warning. The deeper we get into the year, the less I want you to change the goal. Because once we change the goal, we're changing everything. Okay? You want to change the goal next week? Fine. You want to change the goal January 1st? That's a problem. But we're trying to maximize the amount of time that we can gather data on what you're doing. So those updates will refer probably to your pathways. That's the easiest. Here's the cheat code for the kids again, right? How do I get past this assignment? Add more pathways. You may discover that the outcome you wrote isn't measuring what you wanted to measure. It doesn't make sense. You certainly change your outcome. You look at data from, you already have the data, maybe you just want to change what it looks like. Maybe you set the goal too high, or maybe it's too low. You already met it. Okay? That's also due the 27th. I'm sorry, the updates are the 15th of December and 15th of March. Alright, we're going to have journals due starting on the 29th. In your classroom is a pacing guide with all the due dates already. But 7 days after September 29th, if your journal's not there, we're going to, remember I told you, we're going to email you and your mentor. And 14 days later, we're going to email you and your principal. Okay? So, take a look at the journals tonight. I've given you samples. Take a look at the sample I gave you. I've gotten tired of television while all the stuff that's on. I've been watching reruns of Adam 12. Some of y'all know what that is. The names have been changed to protect the innocents, but the things that you've seen tonight are true, is what they say on 1 Adam 12. This is a real journal, y'all. This is an actual journal. I took out the names. This is what we're looking at. So you notice that they're answering 2 sets of questions, and they're putting in the dates. Right? Just in time, how do I, what do I in the classroom? If you have a TSM, we're looking at one of those hours a week where you're focusing just on MIC. You still have 3 or 4 other hours we're giving you, but one of those hours that your TSM is giving you is MIC. The rest of you, it's all MIC. Just in time, how do I, long-term analysis, this is what I'm doing with my pathway. And I'm analyzing it, reflecting on that, and talking about the data and looking at it. How does it inform my teaching? Our suggestions are that you open your computer and type on this every time you meet, so that when you get to the end of the month, it's not a procrastination, because you'll never remember what you did 3 weeks ago. Right? The 4th week ought to be a time when you're editing and refining. But I'll warn you that if you wait till the last minute, it's a 2.5 hour project. If you're doing a little bit at a time, it's 20, 30 minutes at the end. Okay? But even think about the fact that when you think about this assignment compared to what you did in the preliminary classes, it's not a lot, right? So, come on, y'all. Help me out. Turn it in on time. Think about it. This is your mirror. I really want you to stare deeply into the mirror. Think about your teaching practice and reflect on this document. Questions about journals? We're almost home. All right. I want you to put 2 to 3 artifacts in each of the journals. Explain what the evidence is, how it's related to your goals, and how it informs your teaching. Let me tell you that I have a board that I'm accountable to, our advisory committee. And we looked at the data from last year's exit activity and said we need to raise the rigor. So listen carefully, y'all. Year 1s are going to do the exit interview. Year 2s and early completion option are going to be doing a presentation with data, looking at students. The question is, when I get to the end of the year, where's all that data? Here's the answer. It's why we want you to put 2 to 3 artifacts. You rearranged your room, put pictures in them. You did a Quizlet, put the scores in. You modified something with Kagan's strategy so there was better discussions. Put the unit test in. Look how it affected going forward. Okay? And then when we get to the year, you're going to have all these stories to tell us, and you're going to have to pick the best ones. Okay? questions? I'm either that good or that boring. I don't know. Do me a favor, give me some feedback, and then you guys are out of here.